SuperTalk Mississippi media production.
State Treasurer David McRae has put hundreds of millions back into the hands of Mississippi citizens, expanding the state's affordable college and career savings program and also returning record amounts of unclaimed money. Check out how Treasurer David McRae's office can help you, your business, or your organization. Treasury.ms.gov.
What's up, everybody? Welcome in on this Friday morning edition of the podcast. Of course, my name is Michael Borky, and I'm always glad that you are with me. So, did not go live last night, obviously, because of the basketball game. A lot of you were paying attention to the basketball game. They had a great crowd as well, the biggest of the season, so it didn't feel right to be live during that. We're going to talk about that a little bit, and then also I've got a mea culpa that I have to issue. I was wrong about a thing that I actually said on the radio show yesterday. I have done a complete 180. I have totally changed my opinion about something that happened yesterday in Oxford, so we'll talk about that. I've got a conversation also with good guy Michael Katz, obviously covers Ole Miss for the Daily Journal. You've heard from him before, and we talked about the Trinidad case, what it was like being in the room during all of that, what it means for Ole Miss, some thoughts on baseball as well. I really enjoyed the conversation. I'm sure that you guys will as well. So I'm glad you're here. Don't forget to subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Just search Rebel Report and subscribe and leave a rating and a review if you like what you hear anyway. But make sure you subscribe. And then also right here on YouTube, like, subscribe, leave a comment, all that good stuff as well. And this edition is presented by Logan Smith Shelter Insurance. Anywhere in Mississippi, he can take care of you, anywhere. So if you're within the borders of this state and you need auto insurance, if you need home insurance, if you need life or even insurance for your business, his award-winning services will take care of you. Give him a call, 601-823-3500, 601-823-3500. And even if you have any of those or all of those, it's still worth the phone call. Give him a call, see what he can do for you, and don't forget to tell him that I sent you. So, last night, the Ole Miss women had a big basketball game, and there was a lot of attention paid on that one for a lot of reasons. It was a matchup against a top 10 team. Ole Miss themselves playing really well and have earned the attention, especially when the men are playing as poorly as they have been. Ole Miss, a ranked team with a big home game, got some attention. They did some promotions, got a really good crowd. It was a cool night on ESPN. It was a late tip-off, but to be fully transparent with you, I'm not going to gaslight you and lie to you about support and things like that. I am not a fan shamer. I never have been. I thought the criticism of you guys in attendance in football from your former head coach was pathetic because it was just not true. And he was allowed to create a narrative about fan support at Ole Miss, which was garbage and just factually inaccurate. What I didn't like was some people at the time like feeding into that, like Ole Miss fans. Oh, he's right. No, he wasn't right. He was never right. And we talked about it many times on here and on the radio show. It was always unfair to criticize football fan support. You guys did a hell of a job and will continue to do a hell of a job. What was it? Number one in the SEC and total percentage filled this past season. So I never bought into that. I'm not a fan shamer, especially when it's undeserved. And I'm not going to be a fan shamer when it comes to the non-mainstream football, basketball, baseball sports. When you're talking about women's basketball, the team works hard, the program's going in the right direction, the crowds are getting bigger, and that's a good thing. But this idea that you guys are wrong for not selling out every home game, considering all of the factors into it, I'm not going to engage with that. And as a result, we don't talk about it very much on the radio show and on here. The demand isn't there for us to cover it, just to be fully transparent with you. There hasn't been demand to cover it. And so I have not watched it very much, to tell you the truth. Maybe I should. Maybe I need to change that. If I am open to hearing criticism, if you think that I need to do that more, then I'm open to hearing that. Just in the past, we haven't really had that demand. And that is not unique to Ole Miss. There are very few programs in the country that actually have demand for major coverage. Why am I saying all that? Because, again, you saw some of that last night. your former head coach, trolling about that. I would encourage you just to mute certain accounts on Twitter, to be honest with you, just to ignore that, because it's not unique to you. And you getting criticized for that is a joke, and it's disingenuous, and it's just an attempt to continue to take shots and troll and stuff like that. You did a heck of a job putting butts in seats last night and created a great environment on ESPN, and good on you, I guess is what I'm trying to say, and ignore all the other crap, because that's all it is. It's just crap. So yeah, sorry, waffling a little bit, but just ignore that. I saw a lot of that. As far as the game itself, I enjoyed watching it. I really did. I thought that there was one, I liked by and large the officiating more than I liked the officiating in the men's game sometimes. I know, look, there were some things that were questionable down the stretch and all that, but generally speaking, I thought that they let a lot more contact go than the men's game does at times. But Ole Miss loses. They had a lead in the second half, took a lead into the half, had a lead after 3, and then just got blitzed in the fourth quarter. As you know, they were 0 of 17 from the field in the fourth quarter of the game. Also missed 5 free throws in there as well. Seemed like a team that just they ran out of gas. I know they played a lot of games lately. So that was part of it. I thought that they tried to milk clock early, and that was a mistake. But maybe that was part of them being gassed as well. But, not an ideal finish. They blew it, and that's okay. They're still a good team. It's a regular season game. They will absolutely, no doubt, play in the postseason, and that's what really matters more so than a home game. But an unfortunate missed opportunity when you did get, the attention of the fan base at large more so than you usually do, and have a lead and to blow it late. That's an unfortunate end, but I came away impressed, especially as everybody has talked about. Cody McMahon is legit. I've heard that name, watched a 4-quarter game of hers for the first time last night, and I see why people are in love with her. She was awesome. There's a lot to like about that team, and it seems like, that they have a real chance to make postseason noise again, and maybe make an even deeper run than they did before. I mean, LSU is one of the best programs in the country, and went toe-to-toe with them, should have beat them last night. And, I enjoyed watching it. I will be more intentional about seeing what they're all about moving forward. But I did think that, some of the discourse last night that you guys saw was unfair and kind of a joke, to be honest with you. And people need to stop feeding into that. That's just my opinion. Here's my mea culpa, though. Here's my mea culpa, because the other component of last night was not just the game, but it was, bringing Stephen A. Smith in and rolling out the red carpet for him. And I said on the radio show yesterday, and I'm not the only one that shared that opinion, was that is somebody that hopped on a national platform on the SEC's only television partner and just spouted off ignorance about you and about the state in which most of us live. And I hated it. It's frustrating sitting here as a transplant to Mississippi. I didn't grow up here. I have no family. I am my family tie to Mississippi. I had no family ties here before I moved here. None. Zero. The only time any member of my family had ever been to Mississippi before I moved here was my dad had like a business conference in Biloxi in the 90s or something like that. I mean, that is the only tie to Mississippi I've had. So as a transplant, as somebody that came here and was educated here, my son was born here, my life is here now, to see a national platform like that and somebody say the things that were said about you and about us here in Mississippi and the state as a whole is so incredibly frustrating to me. And when I saw that Ole Miss was, inviting him in and going to roll out the red carpet for him, I said yesterday on the show, I didn't like that because I don't think you should reward somebody that so confidently talked down to you with the hero treatment. That's what I said yesterday. on the show. And I am very glad that Ole Miss did not do that. I have done a complete 180 after seeing it last night and talking to some people about how they feel about it. I have completely changed my mind. I am glad that Ole Miss and Coach Yo and Keith Carter and Pete Golding and everybody decided to be the bigger person than me in my feeling in that regard. I've totally changed my mind after witnessing it, because what is the best way to show somebody they're wrong? It's not to block them out. It's not to just yell and point your finger and you're never welcome here and all that. It's to show them and open up the door and say, hey, you know what? You're wrong about this place. Come see it for yourself. And look, I have not watched First Take today. I'm not going to. I don't, and I won't. But I'm sure clips will come out if he has chosen to talk about it. But there's already videos of him. I think it's his daughter that he's sitting next to courtside, where he's talking about how much fun he's having, and saw the pictures of him getting to visit with Pete and with Trinidad and Kewan Lacey. And I hope, even though it was only a few hours because he flew in and flew out, understandably so. I mean, he's got a TV gig. He can't just take days off to go hang out somewhere. But I hope that he got to feel the same thing that I and so many others have felt when they come to Mississippi. Because once you get here, it's like, hold on a second. This is nothing like what people say that it is. Both Ole Miss and then the state as a whole. It is nothing like what people say that it is. And I hope, and it looks like he certainly got that. I hope now the highest paid person in sports media, I think. No, I mean, I guess Brady's got a bigger contract than ESPN's highest paid employee anyway. Got to experience that for himself, and will now, when he gets to sit at that table and be on the national platforms, when Ole Miss comes up, won't say the kind of garbage that he said, will instead be in a position of information and let everybody else know, hey, I actually went and checked it out for myself. And not only was it not what you would think, but the people wrapped their arms around me. I mean, I guess the student section was chanting at him as he was going to take his seat, like he got loved on. And that was the right call. I was wrong yesterday on the radio show thinking that you shouldn't roll the red carpet out for that person. That's a bad mindset on my part. Good on Ole Miss for doing it. Again, I have not seen if he's talked about his trip or not yet, but it doesn't matter. That's the right way to do it, because I lived that myself. Some of you have lived that yourself. That's the right decision, and I'm glad Ole Miss did that. And it sounds like he got to live the experience that so many of you have, and good on you. That was the right decision. So it was a big night. Unfortunate that it ended the way that it did, but all in all, on ESPN, big crowd. Stephen A. got the red carpet rolled out for him, and the right decision was made. And so now, hopefully, moving forward, the SEC's biggest television partner won't have somebody saying the objectively incorrect things that were said in the past. And because I think you guys deserve better. That was the right way to approach it, though. Mea culpa. I was wrong, and Ole Miss was right to do what they did. So we'll get to my conversation with Michael Katz here in just a second, after I tell you about Priority One Bank. They make you their priority every single day with their online banking platform, local loan servicing and decision making. They have 16 locations here in Mississippi. It's where I bank. Bank with me. Switch to Priority One Bank, and you will get the same feeling that I do every single day, because they make me their priority. It's in the name. Bank with me at Priority One Bank. By the way, I recorded this interview for the radio show, so there is a break where I toss it to commercial and then bring us back in the middle. It's only like 5 seconds. I tried to cut it out, but I kept cutting anyway. So the video is just going to stay as a whole in here. But there's just like that 5 seconds where I throw it to break and then bring him back in. It kind of makes me laugh. So forgive me for that, but good conversation with Michael of the Daily Journal. Talk about Trinidad's case, what it was like being in the courtroom, what does it mean, him winning, some thoughts on baseball. John David Baker, stuff like that. So really good conversation coming your way right now. And I'll see you on the other side. All right, we now welcome on friend of the program, Michael Katz of the Daily Journal, who just suffered through a workout, which was very similar to suffering through 90 minutes of a judge reading a ruling in a courthouse in small town Mississippi. What's up, man? How are you?
I'm good. The ruling actually took a little bit longer than the workout, so I don't know if that's bad on me or bad on the judge, but that's something.
So I went to journalism school, like I assume you did. I actually don't know what you went to school for. I assume journalism. And they sent us to Board of Aldermen meetings as part of like the curriculum that we had to go cover Board of Aldermen meetings. And it was the worst thing in the world. And it like made me contemplate my future. But once you got into sports, I assume that you never thought you'd be sitting in a courtroom for, a true 9 to 5 in the courtroom, listening to all of that.
Yeah, I in another life, I did some breaking news, cops, courts, all that kind of stuff. So like I've spent time in courtrooms, murder cases, really, really dark things. And I don't think I've ever spent a longer day in a courtroom than I did for this. And I certainly have not heard a longer reading of a decision. Yeah, it was surreal. Pittsburgh, 300 people, whatever it is of the current census, was the center of the college football world for a day. Like what a world. What a world that is.
One of those frames behind you on the wall, is that your new law degree that you got after? I feel smarter, to be honest with you, after talking to lawyers and like reading all of the filings, and I understood most of the words on them. So I feel like I kind of have a degree now.
You know what? If nothing else, I know what an injunction is.
There you go.
I feel pretty good about that. I teach a class on Mondays, and that was like the first thing I asked. I was like, please let me know. Like, if there's one thing you learn from watching this, please tell me you know what it is now.
And sure enough, he was able to secure that. And I don't want to go down the, what does this mean for college football road? Because frankly, I think his case is different than that of Bediako's and other. And you saw the NCAA try to loop them together. And
that was
even Andy Staples, who I really like, was right. He's like, people are trying to loop all of these cases in the same group. And he's like, stop reacting to the Trinidad case in the same way you do the others, because this is medical red shirt, one more year. It's different. But now that that's over, number 2 in Heisman odds, that kind of thing. What do you think about what his return means for the actual football piece of Ole Miss in 2026?
Depending who you ask, you might have the best player in the country. I know Jeremiah Smith is incredible. There's a lot of really good players out there. But Trinidad Chambliss is one of those players who legitimately can completely change a team's fortunes. He did that for Ole Miss. He did that within games for Ole Miss. You've got 2 Heisman contenders in the backfield. Find a better backfield in college football than that. Goodness.
You're not being hyperbolic, truly.
No, you've got 2 All-Americans, both guys who legitimately could put up Heisman numbers. There's no question. You've got a team that has a lot of momentum that is going to be in the national conversation. They've got, yes, I know that they lost some pieces to the guy in Louisiana, but they also brought in a lot of really good pieces to improve in a lot of spots. So, I think that, if this wasn't Trinidad, if this was Deuce Knight or, whatever, I think they'd still probably be pretty good. They're a top 25, top 15, 20 team, something like that. When you bring back a guy who, I don't know if there's a quarterback I want more on my team if I'm a college football coach.
There's very few options out there. You've got one in Texas, one in Oregon that you look at and you think, you could have a conversation. Maybe saying at Ohio State, but he really wasn't good against the good teams that he played either. So it's very, very few. Did it feel like when you're sitting, we love small town Mississippi on this radio show. We absolutely love it. But the center of the college football world for a day was Pittsburgh, Mississippi. Did it feel as big as it actually was when you were sitting there in that courtroom? Because you said it. We've talked about it on this show. The wins above replacement, Heisman Trophy odds, all that stuff all went down there.
Yeah, like within the actual courtroom, it didn't feel that big because like it's 150 people or whatever. Listen, the people who are watching, there were a couple of like, I think high school classes that came to just like watch. Cause like, listen, if you're a teacher and you don't have a lesson plan, I'm going to take my class to go watch that if I'm an Ole Miss fan. Come on, man. Like, let's learn about the justice system, right? So there were a couple buses that brought students, which I thought was pretty interesting. There are Ole Miss fans there, as we saw, as I tweeted out, Trinidad signing footballs in between breaks, which that's another story. That was otherworldly. So like in a lot of ways, it kind of felt contained because like I know Trinidad, I know his family, so it kind of feels a little close knit. But then I start getting like retweets and follows from like and DMs from like national media, and I'm like, oh, this is pretty big. Like, people like, what station's it on? Where can I watch it? And I was like, I don't know, man. I'm here. I'm gonna let you find it. I know there's someone recording it here. I'm sure you can find it.
I'm not streaming it. I gotta write about it. Okay.
Yeah, I gotta do banger tweets. That's what the gig is. But yeah, and then I think by the end of it, when eventually the judge got to his decision, I think it kind of hit like how big this was. Obviously the smile on Trinidad's face and the relief from him and his mom and Joe Judge and everybody who was representing his side. But again, when you are able to, I want to say add one of the best players in the country, but when you aren't sure if you're going to have one of the best players in the country on your team and you get him back, oh boy, that's a hell of an addition. Yeah. And I think that college football kind of felt that.
So I have a theory, and listeners of this show have already heard this theory, but I think you're seeing it again today in something unrelated that we may have talked about by the time we play this interview. But I have a theory that the NCAA didn't truly actually try to win that case. And here's what I mean by that. You are arguing that this player did not have a medical condition that prevented him from playing, right? That's the NCAA's argument, is we can't grant the red shirt because he wasn't actually ill. The Chambliss side had over 90 pages of medical documentation. They brought an ENT doctor on the stand to talk. They had statements from Ferris State, a physician, a coach, and an assistant AD from something or other, all on their side. The NCAA at no point, this is what's crazy, and the national reaction does not, I guess, and I understand why most people didn't watch, but the NCAA brought no evidence of their own. They didn't consult a medical expert of any kind. Nobody, nothing to say, hey, actually, those conditions that they lay out, they're really not debilitating. He really could have played, and I am a medical expert based out of wherever, and I treat patients like him, and I think he could have played. They didn't even bother with that in none of their filings, not on trial day, nothing. And so how can you say that you tried to win if you did not do that? And so my theory is they go to these cases, they know they're going to lose anyway, but they don't try so they can go to Capitol Hill and say, look, we tried and we can't win, and please save us, Congress. You can't tell me that was their best foot forward. I refuse to believe that was their best attempt at winning that case, actually.
It was staggeringly not a well thought out argument that they threw out there. Again, no witnesses, never seen that before. When they didn't cross-examine Trinidad's mom, I knew it was over. I was like, yep, okay, they know they're cooked.
And even if you're going to lose, shouldn't you at least present your side and be like, hey, we had a great case here, guys? Yeah, no, I mean, this was literally. They didn't do it. I had somebody say that someone said this was like the trust me bro defense, and it was just they did not make any compelling arguments. It was really just like, well, it really wasn't that bad. And then you have Trinidad's side lay out like the debilitating stuff about how like literally he couldn't sleep and all, he couldn't gain weight. And then NCAA's like,
well, yeah, but he practiced. And I'm like, that's not like necessarily going to be your best argument.
And we've got people in our audience, Michael, that roll their eyes at that because they don't think that he, had a debilitating illness. But for those of you listening that roll your eyes at that, the NCAA didn't try to get – they didn't try. That's my point, is they didn't even bother laying out other than and that's not going to work anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, their defense was, well, if it was so bad, why did he practice? And – if it was so bad, why didn't he get his tonsils taken out earlier? That was literally it. That is what they came to the gunfight with. And Trinidad's side brought a tank and a bazooka, and they were like, "Hey, like, you're going to have to do more than that."
We'll hold that thought. We'll be right back with Michael Katz of the Daily Journal, Sports Talk Mississippi, from the Pearl River Resort Studio. All right, back with a little bit more. Here's on the Farm Bureau guest line, Michael Katz of the Daily Journal. Outstanding coverage of Ole Miss sports. If you don't follow him by now, if you don't read his stuff, you should. I don't know what you're waiting on, but you absolutely should. So the next step to this, Ole Miss gets Trinidad back. They had the trial. It's over. Is now there's a lot of pressure. We've talked about pressure on Pete Golding. A lot of pressure on John David Baker because, he's gone out and done it on his own. He is a Kiffin disciple. He runs the same offense. All of that helps. But you don't have the year one excuse, which is a good thing for Ole Miss. But you have a veteran quarterback who just took a team to the semifinal. You have an elite running back, and the two backups that you added in the portal are really good additions. You return your interior three on the offensive line. You return Luke Haz at tight end. You return Deuce Alexander at wide receiver, and you portaled a handful of wide receivers as well. There is no excuse for John David Baker to not have a quality offense for Ole Miss in 26.
Yeah, you brought him in literally. Continuity was something that Pete Golding talked a lot about when he got hired. And you're not trying to reinvent the wheel. We are going to do what worked, what worked with the other guy, and what worked was this type of offense. And they brought in. Listen, Charlie Weiss did an incredible job. There's a reason that he was a Broyles Award finalist. There's a reason he is making a ton of money in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. But you brought in a guy who you think can do the same sort of things and who has done it on his own, not just a guy who was under Lane. He had some pretty good offenses at East Carolina, and they were very, very bad when he got there. Like, they were in like the 100s, and they ended up in the top 15 during his time there. So, but yeah, when not only do you have a head coach who his first games were in the playoffs and he won them. So the year one excuse is already kind of out the window with that. But two, you are bringing back one of the most talented rosters in college football, and you have the most talented backfield in college football. I don't think there's going to be much of a room for trial and error and it's his first time calling plays at Ole Miss. They don't have time for that. There's a reason they fought so hard to get Trinidad back. It's because they believe that with him, they can win a national championship. They don't have time to go through the motions. So, yeah, there's a ton on him. I'm going to be really interested to speak with him in the spring when I assume we'll get to him and sort of see what his philosophy is, just and how it might differ from Charlie and how. Because I personally thought, like, during the playoff run, Charlie did his best work because, and that's when we really learned, like, how good Charlie Weiss is, right? When he isn't necessarily being talked about as just, Lane's really the one doing all the offense, right? Yeah. Charlie Weiss, like, put up a masterclass in during that playoff run. He was awesome. I would love to see, like, what is John David Baker's philosophy? How is he going to put his spin on it? What does it look like when he's under a defensive coach? I'm really curious to see what that looks like. I assume he's going to be able to do whatever he wants. I think Pete's smart enough to kind of take his hands off the wheel and, let the other guy handle it. But really curious. I don't think you take this job without knowing that there's going to be a ton of pressure on you. There's no question. You don't come to a playoff team that has as much talent as it does and think, they're going to give me plenty of leash. That's I think he's smart enough to know that was never going to be the case.
Yeah, for sure. And now, so spring, do we have any indication yet of what they're going to do for spring? I'm hoping. I'm a college football truther. I think spring practice was actually fun and interesting and gave us something to talk about. And when the schools would open them up, fans got to go see them. And the spring game was a nice day, especially for people that, may not be able to afford the 4-figure weekends to go see a conference game. And I want that back. But we don't know yet if that's coming back.
No, we don't. I feel pretty confident there's probably not going to be a hot dog eating competition. That feels like it probably isn't in the cards. But I guess we could see.
Knowing what they did with the basketball goal, I would love to get Pete Golding's unfiltered thoughts of. All right, hey Pete, between you and me, because I don't think he would talk about this publicly that way. But
no,
what did you think of Joey Chestnut on the field during the spring game?
As someone told me, he's not about the bells and whistles, and I think that's a very good way of putting it. Pete's just a football guy.
He is just a football guy, and a lot of pressure on him, and a lot of pressure on this baseball team as well. We'll skip basketball. They lost again last night, blew a lead. There's a larger conversation to be had when the season wraps up. But baseball, they look great on the mound. Excellent, frankly, starting pitching. Looks like a lineup that can be pretty potent and have a really hard time fielding their positions, a carryover from last year. So what are your quick thoughts on what you've seen so far?
Yeah, I mean, I thought the lineup was going to be pretty good when you return a guy like Judd and Federico and Foley, and Foley hasn't even really gotten going yet. Yeah. And then you add the pieces that they did. It felt like they were gonna produce. Listen, you know what you're getting every Friday with Hunter Elliott. You have an All-American, Golden Spikes caliber pitcher, but Townsend and Libbert, those are two really talented dudes. And we saw it. And listen, I know, that it was against a not so great, opposition. But, Cade Townsend is a guy who came in really highly touted out of California. He's from my neck of the woods. I knew about him coming out of high school. Libbert was a really talented guy. Mm-hmm. When you can throw three guys with elite stuff, and then you have that offense, yes, the fielding does need to get better. There's no question. Every time I see a drop ball at first base, a part of me dies. There's had some errors at shortstop. It's those little things that this team needs to clean up. But I think they're going to be good. I thought that they were really undervalued in the preseason polls, and I know D1 baseball isn't super high on them yet. I think Baseball America has them in the top 15 or 16, something like that. I think this is going to be a team that is. I know they have a tough schedule. That's going to be tough, but I think that there's no. I think they're going to be in the hosting conversation, and
they should be.
And if nothing else, they're pretty solidly, I think, going to be in the field, and they're going to be someone I don't think anyone's going to want to see come early summer.
Michael, thank you so much for your time. You're always way too kind with your time. Is it just at Michael Katz with a K on Twitter?
At Michael L. Katz.
Michael L. Katz, and not at Katz with a K, but Michael Katz, and Katz is spelled with a K for clarity's sake. Thank you so much for your time, man.
For sure, man. Appreciate you.
Always appreciate Michael joining us. Hope you guys enjoyed that conversation. The podcast also brought to you in part by Advantage Business Systems. If you're a Mississippi business that needs office technology, check them out. absms.com is the website. Tell them that I sent you. You'll get a complimentary office technology assessment. absms.com. All right, baseball coming up this weekend. What I want to see, it's simple. I've told you guys before, I really like Ole Miss's pitching staff. Starting pitching, excellent. The batting lineup, especially Becerra's off to a really hot start. You like a lot there. I want to see them play much cleaner defense on the infield this weekend. It's a multi-year problem. They have got to be cleaner. It will cost them games if they don't clean it up. Would love to see that start this weekend. If they can just play better infield defense, that is the biggest thing I'm watching for this weekend. But we'll react to the games together on Sunday. I will see you guys then. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy your baseball. It's going to be rainy here in this area anyway, so try to have some fun. Stay out of the rain, and I will see you guys live on Sunday. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you then.
A SuperTalk Mississippi media production.